So this first story is entitled Searching, and it came about through, not because it's me, but because of some experiences I had at Congregation Share of Israel. Danny presses his cell's end call button like a terrorist detonating a bomb. Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye, yet another assessment of his 39 years. At least Mother praised his applying for a big boy job. He last held a full-time position as an associate rabbi following ordination over a decade ago, for 2 years. Then came part-time gigs, Torah study at JCCs, Judaism classes at community colleges, tutoring B'nai Mitzvah students, hipster weddings at the beach or in the Redwoods. Mother disapproved, especially of his playing guitar in dive bars with the Verklemts, a Yiddish name band covering Motown and Springsteen. It upset her so much she could never talk, just sigh. Mother does use words to tout a steady paycheck, paycheck being a term from her younger days. Although she receives Social Security, the concept of direct deposit puzzles her. Healthcare coverage she gets. For now, you can't afford to get sick again, like after Becca. At this point in life, money and benefits sound good. Maybe moving up when the senior rabbi with a liver condition retires. His application, however, includes a stumbling block. Not the Verklemts. True, musicians attract women, and he's had his share. Of course, as a rabbi, he only slept with single women, never married, divorced, widowed. But that shouldn't come up. The real problem? No woman, as in wife or fiancée. If only you could stay in a relationship, Mother admonishes. She divorced Dad 15 years ago. Still, she makes a point. He married Becca a week after ordination. They lasted a year. He didn't cheat, he just didn't love her. The board at the temple held back a new contract. Fortunately, rules prevent the search committee from asking personal questions, but nothing can stop them from wondering what example a bachelor rabbi on the cusp of 40 sets for the congregation, particularly for teenage boys. He puts on his suit coat. It projects an image of gravitas. But too formal? Cold? Jacket goes, tie stays. He wants to impress the committee that he's serious enough to meet their spiritual needs while sufficiently relaxed to accept their shortcomings without being a scold, like she whose name he will not mention. Still, given a resume long on creativity but short on substance, his persona needs bulk. Jacket on. Bulk, yes, but not stodginess. Jacket off. Should he loosen his tie? He could slip on one of his old Verklempt t-shirts for balance, or would that sabotage the interview? Back on with the jacket. The call appears on his screen. Why, he wonders, would this search committee consider him? Does the shul have problems he doesn't know about? Are they that desperate? Is he? You can do a lot with 450 words, and I want to reiterate, humor is serious. The next story I want to read is way, way longer. It's all of 1,000 words, and I want to thank for it both Hans Christian Andersen and New York's Guggenheim Museum. White on white. What does a 9-year-old black girl know about art? Give me a break. Not that I don't love the kid for what she did. I know artists who pay a fortune to get my kind of exposure. Actually, they do that. Pay a fortune. What do they get? Bupkis. Fact. People come to see an exhibit by Garrett White because Garrett White defines art. I told that to Vanity Fair. I told that to Slate. I told that to Terry Gross, although you can't see my work on the radio. And the Times, still trying to make some kind of point that I was born Gary Weisbrod in Queens. What? Frank Gehry wasn't Frank Goldberg? It's all part of the mystique. Garrett White reinvented himself so he could reinvent art. Michelangelo, Rubens, Degas, Picasso, Henry Moore, that was them. Ditto for Warhol and everyone who followed right up to the millennium and past. Garrett White is now. That's what I told American Art Collector. As to the girl, if I was writing a screenplay, I couldn't come up with a better story. She and her parents walk into my exhibit, white on white. The father's a doctor, like Bill Cosby on the old TV show. The mother teaches comparative lit at Columbia. I forget their names. The kid's name I can't remember either, but that's not the point. The point is, the story's simple, like art should be simple. Too many artists make things complicated. Garrett White doesn't do complicated. He does simple. White on white, a room, a cube actually, 20 by 20 by 20. Walls, white. When the entry and exit doors close, you can't see them. Floor, white. Ceiling, white. Very white, because it's the light source. It gives each surface the same value of brightness, more or less. Not exactly the same. Garrett White does simple. Making everything exactly the same, that's complicated. Visitors walk into the room 10 at a time. 10's the max. They get 2 minutes to take it all in. Then they leave as the next group enters. Before the kid came, some groups had only 5 or 6 people, maybe as few as 3. But 10, that was the max. More than 10 screws up the experience. The curator's notes say that on a placard outside the entry. It's a quote from me, actually. More than 10 screws up the experience. I don't say why. Why say why? An artist doesn't explain himself. Other people do the explaining. The artist does art. So the Times reports that someone in a particular group, a full 10 by the way, starts talking as soon as she enters the room. It's the girl. They describe a pink blouse, purple jeans, and pink sneakers. Her hair's braided with all these beads, pink, yellow, turquoise. A real work of art, the Times says. So anyway, the girl blurts out, "There's nothing in here." Her parents try to shush her. At 9, the kid's a critic. The kid won't pipe down. "There's nothing in here," she says. "Isn't there supposed to be something in here?" The rest of the group remains silent. These are New Yorkers, or visitors who know the local customs. Their silence cuts deep. What, these people paid a special admission fee to see nothing? They're stupid? These are doctors and lawyers and professors and business people and students and other artists, or the spouses or partners or friends or whatever. They may not know what they like, but they know art. That's a joke. What goes down is no joke. The next Sunday, the Times runs an article in Arts and Leisure. Might they be a little tardy? Hell yes. Waiting 10 days after the opening before reviewing Garrett White? That's like televising the State of the Union address in February. The headline reads, "There's nothing in here." This, no question, would lead the reader to believe that white on white has just been chucked down a hole, and Garrett White's reputation with it, which, no offense, would make the reader wrong. The thing is, the writer is ambivalent. Is white on white great art, or is Garrett White putting something over on us? She can't say. Am I disappointed? Hell no. You can't pay for that kind of ink or digital composition. Now, everyone who gives a shit about art has to see white on white in order to weigh in. White on white is topic 1 on the East Side, the West Side, in Chelsea, in the Village. The hipsters down in the Lower East Side, they're all over it. Aside, can you believe my immigrant grandparents once lived there? The same goes in Dumbo, in Williamsburg, out in the Hamptons. If you don't have an opinion on white, why did someone invite you to that cocktail party or dinner? Some people suggest hard feelings towards the kid on my part. No way. I'd take her to the zoo or out for gelato if I like kids. It's simple. She called it and she saw it, just like an artist. But what does a 9-year-old know about art? Bupkis. Here's what she should know when she gets ready to make her way in the world. The media takes a comment and runs with it. Maybe the comment's not positive. Maybe it's negative. Could be that what they say is even true. Doesn't matter. It's all about the buzz. Some kid speaks, people start talking. A museum gets into crowd control. Galleries raise their prices on every Garrett White piece they have. Still, they sell out. They call my rep for more, demand more. We, as they say, take it to the bank. So what's to know? It's simple. Creating something from nothing, that's art. So there's humor, there's satire, there's also seriousness, because serious things happen. I want to read about a page and a half from a story that you can complete. I had put bookmarks where the story begins in all your books, probably you're all missing now. This is Prescribed Burns. I taped Jonah's ankles and wrapped his hands before helping him slip on the blood-stained gloves. The roar of the crowd exploded through the thin walls of what once was an office space inside what once was a warehouse in West Oakland, near the old Army terminal where my father came back from Vietnam. It served as the locker room. Gunmetal gray partitions formed cubicles to separate the waiting combatants. Jonah's opponent occupied the second cube over. He too was silent. Theoretically, the partitions would keep fighters from beating the shit out of each other before they beat the shit out of each other in the cage. People paid good money to see these kids fight. As to light, a couple of small windows dotted the far wall, but it was dark out. 6 fluorescent tubes hung from the ceiling. 3 worked. There was no shower. For that matter, each cubicle was empty except for a single low metal stool and a small metal table the size of a large nightstand, but without a drawer. Jonah sat at the table. Like the walls, when the crowd grew intense, he seemed to vibrate. As I finished with Jonah's hands, each human hand contains 27 bones, all capable of breaking when delivering a blow. I became aware of individual voices in what might be called the arena. Most were men's, although I heard women too. They sounded like beasts in the wild, shrieking for meat. Jonah didn't seem to hear anything. I suspected he heard voices sometimes, but not those, and not now. He was too focused to hear anything but me, although I had to work to keep his attention. The way things were, he didn't hear me very often, and certainly not once a fight began. I'd long wished he were the kind of person who did hear others, who listened intently, who thought before he acted, who controlled his impulses. They say that as people mature, they learn to do these things. At 16, Jonah had become close. I knew Jonah was a little off kilter early on. Shari had her suspicions, but it took her longer to admit it. He's just a child, was her mantra. There are children, and there are children. By the time Jonah turned 5, the mantra yielded to troubled silences between us. We knew we had a problem, but we couldn't agree on how to solve it. Worse, we couldn't agree that it could be solved. Not that I condemn us for our doubts and hesitations in the early years. Who wants to think there's something wrong with this kid? Jonah looked normal, except for his eyes. They were a beautiful blue, like you might find in a painting. Some people find a lot of symbolism in blue eyes, gentleness or maybe intellect. They think dark eyes indicate passion or danger. It doesn't work that way. At any rate, not for Jonah. What I saw in those eyes always sent a chill knifing down from my shoulder blades to where it twisted itself between my legs the way you might debone a ham. I caught on to Jonah a good 2 years before Shari did. Was that because he was a son and not a daughter? I have no idea other than this. Maybe fathers are more critical of their children than mothers are, particularly with sons. I base this thesis not only on Shari and me, but on other couples we know. Knew. Before long, other parents wouldn't let their kids go anywhere near Jonah. That went back to preschool. So now you have your homework, finish the story. Read all the other stories. You can read them in any order that you want. It doesn't matter. One thing you'll note, Big Truth is the title of the title story of this collection. The 4 characters, main characters who appear in it, appear in 1s and 2s, maybe a 3, I don't know, including Garrett White in other stories. but you can read them again in any order that you want. So again, I want to thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Eat, drink. If you haven't bought a book, buy a book. If I haven't signed it, I'll sign it. If you haven't bought anything for $5 to get my garage clear, think about it. What's $5 for hours of great reading? And again, thanks so much for being here. It's been